Kevin Armstrong joins us tonight with the exclusive story. Kevin?
Aaron, the mother, who we cannot identify under current Alberta legislation, says she and the baby's grandmother are coming forward to share their story in hopes it will prevent a similar tragedy in the future.
It just haunts me because the way she looked at me, it's like, Mom, you have to do something. You have to help me.
That's the last time this mother says she saw her 4.5-month-old baby. She says 2 social workers and an RCMP officer came to her door last month with apprehension orders for her roommate's children. Half an hour later, they turned their attention to her and her own baby.
No ifs, or ands. We are taking the baby.
The baby's grandmother says shocked they believe they didn't have a choice. They followed the officials to Child Services in Leduc to be interviewed.
Like, I asked them, I said, what do I have to do to get my girl back? You know, what do I have to do? And they kept running me around in circles, like, what do you think you have to do?
I'm not able to give any details that are related to confidentiality.
The province would only speak in generalities, laying out reasons why a social worker would take a child without a court order.
That social worker has the ability through law to remove a child from the home if they see that they're at imminent risk. 2 days after the baby was removed, these court documents arrived stating the child has been apprehended and should remain in the care of the director.
In 30 years, I don't think I've ever run across a situation this appalling. The negligence here is horrible, a total abuse of power.
The court documents state the mother appears to suffer from alcohol addiction and the home needs to be assessed by a health inspector.
It is appalling that someone would swear an affidavit like that after a half hour, after only seeing my client for a half hour. That's appalling.
3 days after the little girl was taken, her mother says she was granted a 1-hour visit.
My happy, smiling little girl, she was totally different. It was like she was old and exhausted.
The mother and grandmother say they noticed red marks on her head, dried feces on her, and the baby had diarrhea. The grandmother says she asked the foster parent to take the baby to a doctor.
Had she taken her to see the doctor? No. If she's not better by Monday, then I'll take her. Monday was too late. Monday was too late.
That's because on Monday, this 4.5-month-old baby girl was dead.
And I seen her laying there. I held her for a while. You know, I could keep saying to my mom is they did this to her. How can you take a perfectly healthy, happy little girl? And this is what happens in a week.
Now, the baby was pronounced dead at the Stollery. The family has been told an autopsy and report would be done in 5 months. But they're unsure if those results will be released. The lawyer may be seeking an independent autopsy and also plans to sue. Aaron?
Kevin, the baby died in April, and we're learning about it over a month later. Why wasn't this made public sooner?
Aaron, the province does an audit that shows major injuries and deaths to children in provincial care. That comes out once a year and does not reveal the details of particular cases.
Our Kevin Armstrong reporting live tonight. Thank you. Calls tonight for a public inquiry following the death of a baby 6 days after being seized by the province.
CTV News broke this story last night, and today critics demanded action, saying this is just the latest death in a broken child protective service. Kevin Armstrong is continuing our coverage live tonight from our news center. Kevin.
Daryl, the official opposition says the baby who died in April is the 51st child to die in the province's care in the last decade. The Liberals say without a public inquiry, the trend will continue. Why do you want to come forward and tell your story?
Because nobody's going to brush my little girl under a rug.
Her baby died 6 days after being seized by the province.
The baby is dead. She's not coming back. And someone needs to be held accountable.
While the family is taking legal action, the official opposition is taking action as well.
There has to be a public inquiry. The government has avoided public inquiries in all 51 cases.
The Liberals say this is the 51st child to die in provincial care in the last decade in Alberta. Liberal critic Harry Chase says the government's been aware of problems through a 2007 Auditor General report and another report 6 months ago.
The recommendations from the ministry's own expert panel would have have at least potentially prevented this death.
Other provinces have a children's advocate that acts independently, investigating and publicly reporting findings on a case like this. Alberta has that office, but
the child advocate in Alberta is a essentially useless role. Our system in Alberta is broken.
When we contacted the advocate's office, we were told they would not comment.
We have a child advocate that reports through the minister and is accountable directly to the minister, and the minister has complete control over the nature of the information that the child advocate puts forward.
All systems failed in this case. The child died.
This mother, along with opposition parties, will continue to press the government for more information. What do you want to happen?
I don't want this to ever happen to another parent.
The NDP says the government provided them with a list of injuries and deaths in the foster system in the past year. From March 2010 to March 2011, there were 11 major injuries and 5 deaths of children in the province's care. 3 of those deaths listed as homicides.
Do we know, is the province actively investigating this latest death?
They are awaiting the autopsy results, but standard procedure in a case like this would have them talk to all staff involved, examine their files to see if
an Edmonton lawyer is demanding the government hold a fatality inquiry into the death of a 4-month-old girl who was in foster care. Robert Lee made that comment at a vigil for the girl held at the legislature last night. Des Malenka is joining us now. The latest on this story. Des.
Daryl, a small but emotional group gathered last night to remember the little girl and to demand change to the foster care system.
We have no government representatives here. We have no child welfare workers here. We don't have a children's advocate here. Who do we have here?
This Edmonton lawyer is calling on the government to be more accountable for the welfare of children in their care. Robert Lee is demanding the province examine the baby's death now, not years down the road. We organized this rally a week after learning that this mother's baby died 6 days after being taken into foster care. Lee says it's another example change is needed in the foster care system.
I receive calls on a constant basis by people that have been severely damaged by our child welfare system. The system is supposed to help children, not harm them or kill them.
At least a dozen people at the rally joined Lee in calling for an inquiry into the death of this baby now. Now the mother, along with opposition parties, will continue to press the government for more information. The province says they are waiting for the results of the autopsy before seeing what, if any, improvements need to be made. Reporting live from the News Centre, Des Malenka, CTV News.